Welcome to the show, Vandana.
Thank you, Muzammil.
Today, I want to ask the very important question that there's a lot of risk that is involved in scaling a mountain and mountaineering in general. How do you go about, preparing for a mountaineering event or a trek that you go to?
Yes, so mountaineering is clearly a very risky sport.
Yes.
There is no second opinion about it.
Yes.
The outcome of getting on the negative side of risk in mountaineering is that you just end up losing your life.
Yes.
So clearly a lot of preparation goes before a climb. To begin with, I guess what most of us mountaineers do is figure out the mountain that we are climbing in the first place, and then wise for those 8,000 meters big mountain peaks. So before every climb, what I typically do is I take a good hard look at the mountain I'm climbing. So be it looking up the terrain, looking up the route which we are going to take to climb, preparing for the kind of weather to expect during the climb. A lot of these are unknowns, really. You cannot predict them, but you try your best to understand them, to assess them.
Self-assessment is such an important output even in investing.
Yes.
Would you also say that it's as important to analyze yourself before investing? What is the way to go about doing so?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is the starting point.
Yes.
Whether you're in investing, to a large extent, I have actually written a few blogs about this. I've always ended up drawing parallel of investing to mountaineering, because that's just closest to what I do for a passion, and investing is closest to what I do for my profession, right? So there are a lot of parallels, but I think at a very foundational level, what's important is how do you assess yourself, your profile before you begin the investment journey, right? Whether you use the services of an advisor who assesses this for you, or you do it yourself, right? You have to do it, right? There are a number of tools that you can use. There is the services of a professional that you can use, or you can walk over to websites like ours at Axis Mutual Fund, where we do offer risk profiling tools. What these tools do is give you a broad brush about which kind of a risk taking ability in terms of your life stage you are in, and from that kind of helps you plan your investment journey. For a person or for people of the same age group, risk profiles may be way different, right? I may be a 40-something unmarried single woman who's earning well. I may be a 40-something woman with grown-up kids who are to be put through international universities. I mean, clearly our goals are very different, right? So one size just does not fit one category. You really have to get personal about it.
Definitely.
So understanding our starting point is the foundational aspect in the investment journey.
And the whole deal is that irrespective of you knowing who you are, you have to go through the process of profiling yourself so that you actually know vis-a-vis goals, where do you stand there.
Absolutely right.
So once you've done this, I'm sure that there are instances this side of the story takes care of you as a person and as an investor. But the fund also carries inherent risk, right?
Totally,
to ensure that they are also assessing the risk of the mutual fund on the other side.
Yeah, certainly. The risk profiling of the investment alternative varies according to asset classes. All right. So you may have invested in an equity instrument, whereas debt, and even within debt, there are different types of debt funds which map different types of risk profiles. You invest and how you understand the risk of that proposition becomes very important. There is one particular tool which as investors you could use, which is publicly available, which is updated continuously, which is what we call as the riskometer.
Oh yes.
Right? It's a publicly available tool in the sense that it's available on our websites. It's there in our fact sheets. The riskometer as a tool, and I'll explain that in a bit. The riskometer as a tool is customized to each scheme that is there for you to invest, right? So again, it's not an asset class wide kind of a tool. It is a scheme specific tool. Now, in the case of an so before that, what is a riskometer? A riskometer basically categorizes every scheme into 6 different risk buckets, starting from the conservative to the very high risk. Now, what is conservative? What is very high risk? Basically, you're saying that your principal has a very low risk of losing, whereas in the very high risk category, you stand a very high risk of losing your principal. So that's the broad distinction that's being.
And I was also thinking that like how you don't use one tool in mountaineering, riskometer and perhaps a lot of other things would cumulatively help you understand.
Absolutely. I mean, there are various tools that the industry has today progressed to provide to investors on a periodic basis, and they are not available at call, but available for investors to see everywhere where we make public disclosures. So those are websites, like I told you, those are fact sheets, those are communication. So to give you an example, if there is a change in the risk level of the scheme from one month to the other in that riskometer, so the extreme left hand corner is the conservative and the extreme right hand corner is the most aggressive in terms of risk or in terms of the chance that you lose your principal. Now, if I move slightly along the speedometer or the dial, I actually have to write to my investors to let them know about the change, right? Yeah, that this has happened. So riskometer is just one example. There is something called as the potential risk class matrix, which is specific to debt funds that we publish. So I think as an industry, we've really gone or come a long way to keep our investors informed about risks. So it's not just returns that you have to take a look at or you would like to take a look at before investing. There's just so much available on risk for you to make an informed assessment before you choose an investment option.
Makes sense. I think today I've learned 2 very important things. One is risk analysis and how it falls in everything that you do in one way.
Absolutely.
And more importantly in mountaineering. It was really good talking to you, Miss Vandana.
Same here. Thanks a lot.
And I hope we should do this again maybe sometime.
Anytime. Thanks a lot for having me.
Same
Thank
here.
you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.